Shaba,
Shaba, what's happening?
what's good? Figure we just briefly just talk about our fantasy matchup.
Yeah, last week's.
Yeah, last week's and then this week's we're playing in our own little winners consolation for fifth.
Yeah, last week was tough, man. I'll just get right into it.
Welcome everybody to the Schlabcast, week 16, week 15 review. Jumping right
We
into
can
our
jump right
fantasy.
into fantasy. It was tough. I had to play against Patrick. You had to play against Scotty. They both had amazing weeks. Random players just showed up and dropped a bunch on us.
They whooped us.
I lost 146 to 112. Andy lost 149.8, so almost 150 to 90. Patrick's leading scorer was James Cook of Buffalo. His second leading scorer was Miami defense. His third leading scorer was Ty Chandler with 23 points. I
Which
would
I
just like to point out that I got amazing weeks from his stars. Tony Pollard, 6.7, Stephon Diggs, 6.8, Zay Flowers, 1.2, DeAndre Swift, 8.5. I'll take that. And then he has Jake Elliott, 5 points. If you tell me all that going into this week, I'm feeling great. But then he has guys like Isaiah Likely get 15 and a half points. Matt Stafford get 21 points. Ty Chandler, 23 points. Like, you got to be effing kidding me.
added for
James
free.
Cook, whatever. Let's get right into your game. Let's break some of that down because it was also a bloodbath of sorts.
It was already over after the Saturday games. Laporta had 3 touchdowns.
Laporta, 26.1. Jalen Waddle, 26 points. It's just against the Jets defense, no doubt, that the Texans couldn't put up anything against. Like, are you kidding me? And then I know Miami is better than the Texans. I'm not saying that, but just the sheer 30-0, they can't do anything.
Yeah, one of the few times where we mentioned divisional games, and that was just an absolute blowout.
Yeah, your team also, your
Shit,
guy
shit
did
the
what he
bed.
did. Hurts got his 22 points. He was projected 23, but everyone else on your team just absolute duds. Gabe Davis drops a fucking goose egg. Puka Nakua, 7 points. DJ Moore, 7 points. Kamara, 13. Okay, okay. But
Yeah,
Brandon Aubrey, the hero of Dallas, gets 4 points. Adam Thielen, 6.
yeah,
Just
it was
like
bad.
nobody showed up. You knew you were going to get 20 from Hertz, but
That's
nothing
about it.
else happened.
Hurts and Kamara, that's it. Yeah. Taylor out, no chance. Yeah.
Yeah, Taylor out hasn't helped you really all year, maybe a couple wins. So I guess we aren't the better players. Our teams did not show up regardless of a matchup or not would have occurred. Just we just got absolutely dogged. Granted, we were the fifth and sixth seed coming in, so
We did
we
make the
were not
playoffs.
favored. We did make it. Ahmed was bounced, and he is now in the semifinals for the Sacco. So take that what you will. We have a key couple of Sacco matchups this week with one of my favorite new Schwab rivalries of the last couple of years, Alex Wade versus Ahmed. In the other corner, we have Alex Reyes facing up against Jason. So one of those four guys will be the Sacco and will have to panhandle at least $75.
I bet Reyes is sweating bullets a little bit.
After he dropped 150 on someone, yeah, I don't know if he really knew how that panhandling was gonna work.
Just looking into our matchup for winners consolation for fifth and sixth, I think we're projected for almost the same. Well, actually, I think you're actually projected for 1 point higher.
Let me pull that up. It's just like, and watch our teams both just go off,
I was gonna
you
say,
know,
yeah.
and Patrick and his teams crap the bed. Like Ty Chandler, come on, dude. Like, get
I
real.
I was trying to say picked up off the waiver wire for free too.
Get effing real. Whatever. Let's break down some of these week 15 matchups that ended up being quite wild.
I figure we can just start with the latest game and then just work our way back, if you don't mind.
No, it sounds good.
Monday
Perfect.
night disaster. My Philadelphia Eagles, Seahawks. I picked the Eagles. I actually did pretty good in my pick 'em. Like I think I went 13-3, but going
You
back to this
did. You
game,
got, let me just say, my dad was praising your name on Sunday after you picked Carolina, and I told
well,
him the whole thing
you knew that was coming.
about how you won't pick the Falcons anymore, and he thought you were dead because you picked the Chargers on Thursday.
Oh yeah, yeah, we'll get to that too.
But then you sneak out the Bucks win, and then you sneak out the Bills win, and then you're like riding high, and Carl texts me like a half an hour before the game. He's like, I'm gonna pick the Seahawks. Like, why not, right? What do I have to lose? I'm finally gonna listen to Dennis's advice.
I knew he was. I saw how it was looking. Yeah.
So he did, and he got lucky at the end. I mean, that game was back and forth either way. Ended up looking like it was gonna be whoever had the ball last was gonna win.
Yeah, but getting back to that game, Eagle side just abysmal on both sides of the ball.
Great first drive. They go down and score, and
Yeah,
then it kind of fizzled all from there.
yeah, it's really a combination of everything. Partial coaching, it's execution, it's a lack of cohesion with the new players. They switched over to Matt Patricia, which I actually thought was going to be a refreshing change, but obviously did not help. Players just not executing. Jalen Hurts actually made a shot during his post game saying that he didn't think all of the players were committed on the team, so that was kind of concerning.
Hmm. That's an
Um,
interesting thing to say.
Not quite sure who he's targeting, but that's a little concerning internally. Overall, it's a bunch of things they just need to clean up. They do head into a stretch now where it's
The div
Giants,
the schedule
Cardinals.
is nice.
So I think it's good and bad. It's good because I do think, despite this whole losing 3 games in a row, I think they will get out of the funk and actually win the final three. But I think it's going to be to like they're going to be one of those teams where it's no surprise they can win those, but then are they going to be able to win the ones that matter? Once you because the playoff teams aren't going to
I
be the
think they've
Giants
already
and
shown
Cardinals.
that they can win ones that matter.
One of my friends did mention the 49ers a few weeks back did have their own 3 game losing streak. I think they will rebound, but this was a game they really should have won. I can take a pass the 49ers. We split with Cowboys, but like this is to losing to Drew Lock, especially whether or not Jalen Hurts was 100%. It was just
I
Hurts is
mean,
not
that
playing
last
well.
drive was nuts. You got to give credit to them. I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
what
No,
what
kudos to
happened.
look.
DK made a couple of great catches. Jackson Smith catch was crazy.
Our secondary just looks so like toast. Bradbury, there's no Slay. They need to step up and play better. We have 2 All-Pros and with Shaq Leonard and Kevin Byard in there, and you don't even notice them at all.
Yeah, so that's tough. It was a tough loss. Just move on and just win these next three and get the confidence and the swagger back. What other notable ones were there that rate?
Okay, so
You're
we'll
gonna
move back
work
to that
backwards?
one. Yeah, let's work back to that one. I was one of like the lone schlobs that was stupid enough to pick the Chargers. I didn't even know why. I don't even know how I did that. I guess I wasn't even thinking. I just thought Raiders didn't score that last game against Vikings. I
Yeah,
was like, oh, Chargers, whatever.
it was 42-0 at halftime. It was the Chargers of all Charger losses. They fired their GM and their head coach the next day. They probably got fired at halftime. They were joking about that, but it looked like everybody had just given up for
Yeah.
them. I've never
Should
really
have
seen anything quite like it.
I should have seen it coming too, like Thursday night in Vegas away game, Easton Stick starting. So I should have paid more attention to that. Hindsight. Yeah, I know Wade was stoked.
Yeah,
What a crazy event, like in 2 weeks, scoring 0 and then scoring 63.
63. It's just insane.
Move over to the Saturday games. So we had 3 of them,
Hmm.
starting with the Vikings visiting the Bengals. That actually turned out to be the closest of the three. What
Yeah.
do you think about that one?
Nick Mullen had the start. I don't know if that's really the right move moving forward. They'll probably go back to Dobbs at some
Yeah.
point. Browning looks decent. He's kind of like Brock Purdying himself right now. He's just kind of just doing what he needs to do in a probably really good system. and I don't know, they're firing. I don't think they end up, you know, doing any damage in the playoffs if they do get in, but I picked up Browning in my work league and have been starting him for the past couple weeks because I had Burrow, so it's worked out okay. I'm not ready to take him out yet.
I don't want to call him a game manager, but he's been doing a good job of like that for the past couple weeks. And while he doesn't look like flashy, he's been getting the job done.
Colts take care of business in Pittsburgh it just looks terrible.
Another team,
Trubisky just yeah.
I think they made a switch today, actually, saying they're going to
Mason
start
Rudolph.
Mason Rudolph now. They're going to QB3 now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, the Colts look okay. They've lost to some, lost some close games. They've won a couple close games. They have the same record as the Texans. They're fighting.
Yeah, I feel like they're one of the kind of like a dark horse team a little
Yeah,
bit
nobody's talking about them.
because they're not that exciting. And they scored 30, and that was without Jonathan Taylor, too. So,
Mhm.
for what it's worth. Do you want to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the
Um,
last game, we had the Denver Broncos visiting the Detroit Lions. I was never a fan of the Broncos, but I did think that this game was actually going to be a little bit closer given how the Broncos have been playing the last few weeks.
yeah, they came back to earth. They were up in the mountains there in Denver for a while, and now they came back down and they got trounced by Detroit. Detroit showed who they are this year. They've lost a couple of bad games, but everybody has. All the good teams have this year. So they come back and they show their dominance in all sides of the ball.
Yeah, and then I just saw today too, it says Detroit Lions tickets are gonna be going up 36% for next year now.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's probably a waiting list. It's crazy.
Do we want to move over to our favorite
Yeah,
game
you gotta
of the
talk
week?
about your
Oh,
favorite
okay.
game. I didn't watch a single second of this
Oh,
game.
I did.
So tell
Uh,
me what happened.
Atlanta Falcons visiting the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers getting the job done 9-7. For what it's worth, only 7% of people picked the Panthers, and I was one of those
Wow.
7%.
Wow.
It's just again, it's one of those things where it's like no, nothing sort of shocks you. Like the Falcons and Arthur Smith, they just did the same exact thing he always does and kind of just utilizes his best players like sparingly. He gave twice as many carries just to Tyler Algier, which no knock on Tyler Algier. I think he's a good player, but I just don't understand. I think Kyle Pitts got like two catches.
Yeah, why aren't
They
they at
coming.
least getting half and half?
I
Why is
don't
one getting
know.
twice as more?
Desmond Ritter also didn't play very well, but still, it was like a monsoon half the time. It was just an ugly showing. But yeah, fire Arthur Smith. Hashtag fire Arthur Smith.
I'm
They're,
so glad that the other team that the Panthers beat this year is the Falcons. I should have just picked them, but I'm an idiot. I know we talked about it, but I just couldn't do it. I should have done it. And speaking of something I probably should have done, I will admit I did not have faith in the Texans without CJ Stroud moving into this game. The Titans coming off that red hot win in Miami, that comeback, I just thought there. But then I watched the game and the Titans are wearing the old Houston Oilers uniform,
Mhm.
and there's nothing that riles up Texans players like Andre Johnson and JJ Watt that I've heard over the years is Tennessee wearing those uniforms because they're not their uniforms. They're the
Mhm.
Texans uniforms,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
They're Houston's uniforms if you
Mhm.
want to get technical. They're not the Texans, but they're Houston's. Without getting into that, that always drives an extra fire up people on the Texans stuff that I read. So they played hard. They were
Yeah.
down. They came back. Case Keenum had a great last drive. Noah Brown for the win again. Very like unsung hero of the year in all these late wins. And my boy that I missed before in that other game that they hit the crossbar and lost, Fairbairn shows up, drills one for the win, late in OT, takes it.
Yeah, just coming off IR, right?
Mm-hmm. He hit like 4 field goals that game. They don't
Yeah.
win without him, clearly.
Yeah, it was perfect timing.
Props to Case Keenum for coming in and having a better second half.
I was just looking up because I remember you probably saw it already, but JJ Watt's tweet after the guys won, he said, "We get the uniforms back. That's how this works. I don't make the rules." So
Yeah, he's talked about it a bunch of times in interviews before. And it said Oilers all over the whole stadium. I was like, oh, you guys, you're in for it. You're rubbing it in. Do that against
Yeah.
somebody else.
But really, again, just to second everything you said, this really impressive win going into division road matchup and with your backup and getting the
Yeah.
OT, the win in OT. So just really impressive.
I believe Houston was 1-2 in the division going in also. So that gets you back to 500. Huge. I don't really want to talk about this Miami Dolphins Jets game.
Yeah, not much
Dolphins
to
just
say.
trounced. They look good. No Tyreek, no problem.
Yeah.
It
And
was
the
rainy. Jets look terrible.
thoughts on the Jets and Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I think we
Thoughts?
all knew that was a bunch of BS. There was no way he was gonna do that. So I'm not super surprised to hear that. I picked the stinking Packers. Moving on to that game. Like, what the heck? Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield had never won in Green Bay before.
Oh,
I
really?
saw that. Yeah, he played there
And
like 3 times in the last 3 years, all with different teams, and he's always gotten destroyed. Maybe he had a little chip.
what I
I
did
didn't
see
see
was
that.
he had a perfect passer rating. So there you go.
I think we all know that Green Bay's pretty mid this year, but so is Tampa. So maybe Baker had a little bit more in him that time.
They're like a little above mid for me.
Yeah.
I think we skipped over
Oh,
the,
yeah. Bears, Browns.
yeah,
Browns just have found ways to win this year, and the Bears just have found ways to lose. Simple
yeah.
as that.
And it's
The
the,
guy could have caught the pass. Did you see the
yeah,
Hail Mary?
Mooney. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was so Bears.
Literally landed in his lap.
He kind of kicked it in the air.
Yeah.
Joe
Justin
Flacco,
Fields, is just, I don't know.
yeah.
Flacco,
I was Joe
another just
Flacco magic. Yeah.
decent game.
I kind of go back and forth with Justin Fields. I've
Same.
seen him play really well, and like I see the upside, bits of like Lamar Jackson.
Hmm.
Definitely the athleticism is already there, but I think he just needs to prove it in passing. But Lamar's done it. There's no reason he can't. I think it's could be some coaching could help Eberflus. No knock on him, maybe improve the offensive coordinator or something like that. Similar to like I know the Texans have D'Amico, but they've been giving like Slowick like a lot of credit, the OC.
Yeah.
He just
I
needs
don't
to
know.
be more consistent.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's very well said. I don't think there's much more I need to add. He needs more consistency in his offense
But
and
he
more
al
consistency out of him.
but he also needs more help too.
Yeah, exactly. I picked the stupid Giants because I hate the Saints. I wish I would have done the same thing about the Falcons, but they look terrible. DeVito did not have the magic this week. It's just whatever I pick, the opposite will happen with the Saints. I've been saying it all year. I need to just like reverse, outthink myself, but it's not gonna happen. So,
The Saints are kind of mid too, but it's just hard to win in the Superdome. In
it's
that
very loud there.
environment. And their defense is pretty good. I know what you don't think much of Derek Carr and all of that, but the defense is has always been pretty tough and consistent.
hmm And you got Kamara. Anything can happen on offense if he can get going. Chiefs beat the Patriots. I didn't watch this game at all, really.
I didn't either. It was actually a little closer in the beginning. Taylor Swift was there making her cameo. Travis Kelce, 5 catches, 28 yards. So for a while we were talking about Taylor Swift being like a good luck charm and him playing well, or maybe that's a home thing, but overall I think like he's been declining.
Yeah, stats aren't there.
So
You
maybe
can
they
see that. It's just too much hype right now. And the Chiefs, I don't want to say first round exit, but did you know that Mahomes has never had to play a playoff game not at Arrowhead?
no. Really?
So if they have to go in somewhere, they can't get that first round bye or number one seed or something like that. Like they may have something against them,
Yeah. That
something
that
to
could be
think about.
something.
They
I don't
just haven't clicked completely this year. Just been too many mistakes they usually don't see with an Andy Reid team like that, you know? And I think they really underestimated letting Tyreek Hill go.
yeah. I think they hit the nail on the head.
Like and not getting someone decent to replace him, not getting a
Yeah.
big name,
Yeah. Yeah, you
because it
you
showed
placed
costing
him.
them wins at this point. They covered it up for a little while and they got through it last year, but they still had better receivers last year.
plus the Travis Kelce decline, like we were saying.
Mm-hmm. And he's double covered. He's like every game, he can't be wide open every throw. And Mahomes isn't getting as much time as he used to get. And he has no one else to just chuck it to anymore. Moving on, in what you and Caleb will always celebrate, the Commanders losing to the Rams 28 to 20. The Rams have looked much better in times this year. They held up really good that last game against Baltimore. And then we're back and forth this game, I think, with the Commanders for a little bit, and then they kind of just took care of it. Sitting at 7-7. That's I think they're still in the hunt in the
Oh
NFC
yeah.
race. Stafford looked okay, put up 21 points.
They got some solid pieces, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are some of the best, top two for receiving core. And then
Mm-hmm.
Kyron Williams has really stepped up. That running back has been like a
Mm-hmm.
workhorse. So they've found a formula on offense and the defense has been improving. So yeah, they've been definitely stepping up, especially since we last saw them in like week 5.
That's what I'm thinking about that Eagles game. They put up some points for
Yeah,
sure, but they couldn't go toe to toe at the time. Okay, so we got Niners trouncing the Cardinals 45 to 29.
yeah.
Just an absolute blowout. What used to be a decent divisional matchup has now just become a domination.
They just blew the doors open. I think the play that just stood out to me most was the one where McCaffrey was wide open. They threw the ball to him. He caught it, fell down, like completely fell down, but
Yeah,
still had
got
enough
up.
time to just get up and run it untouched. That said it all.
I saw that with my dad and I was like, what the hell? Like, oh my
Like
gosh,
you see
this
that
is
like in
crazy.
college.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just the Cardinals being so bad, but Niners just they're rolling again. Purdy playing well, got a great system going on there.
Let me see.
Everybody is completely bought in.
Their last 3 games, Christmas though, Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be a close one.
Mm-hmm.
In Niners though, and then the Rams and the Commanders. I need them to lose another game.
You need that Baltimore game hopefully will be close on Christmas. Think it's like Niners by 4.5 right now. So a little bit more than normal. Think it's gonna be close. Moving on to your maybe favorite game of the week besides
Before
if
I
the
actually saw
Eagles had
my
won
game, yeah,
before you saw your game, the Bills just showing up and trouncing the Cowboys and Caleb picking the Bills.
yeah. I was surprised by that. I was surprised by Caleb picking Bills rather. I had a
Yeah.
good feeling about the Bills, just those physical teams and in playing in Buffalo too, it's tough. And I think the Cowboys, I didn't think it was going to be like this, but once they go up against a compatible opponent, it's anybody's game. And then with the home field advantage, I gave it to the Bills.
hmm I think I just thought I couldn't go against the Cowboys after how they had looked recently. And the Bills had like lost a couple of games, quite a few games this year that they haven't looked good. But they look back to a couple of years ago, Bills, NFC Championship, AFC Championship Bills. They were looking good. Josh Allen looked good. Even though it was a quiet game from Diggs, other people got involved. Defense looked really good. Cowboys looked flat. They looked like they didn't really want it,
Just a little
kind of
off,
phoned
yeah.
it in. They couldn't get anything going. Dak had been playing really well, but couldn't just get anything going offensively. And we'll finish off with the Sunday night game. Those Ravens Jags. Ravens just took care of business. Jags only put up 7 points. Tough.
Yeah, Ravens
Good for
defense.
me. The Jags losing. Let's look at some of these stats here. Yeah, freaking Isaiah Likely, dude. Man, jeez Louise. Jags didn't put up any. It was 10-0 at half. Ravens. Jags put up touchdown midway through the third. Never score again. That would be their only score of the whole game. So couldn't really get anything going. Ravens is looking like that old defense they used to have is looking real good. And Lamar looking to throw, I was seeing a lot more. Trevor Lawrence had a couple turnovers, I think, that really bad fumble while he was scrambling.
Nothing much else to say. They just look like a complete team. While the offense maybe doesn't look super exciting. I mean, Lamar looks explosive, but I don't want to always say like the whole offense looks explosive. But their defense when they hold opponents like low
7
points like
points.
that. Like, yeah, they're kind of boring games, the Ravens, I've noticing, but they just kind of wear you down, score enough, and then they run the ball a lot too. So that's why I notice a lot of their games like are shorter just because they run the ball so much, strain the clock, beat you down.
Yeah, and they score enough. It didn't look like anybody. Nope, nobody went against them in the pool. That's all you gotta say right there. People are pretty confident in them. What is their schedule remaining? They have, oh yeah, we were just talking about it. Niners next
Yeah,
on
that'll be a
Christmas.
test. That'll be
That
good.
that'll be a good test. You got the Giants on Christmas afternoon. We have Raiders and Chiefs in the morning. Probably sleep through that. We could preview a couple games here with a few minutes left.
Okay. I guess.
Lions Vikings divisional matchup. I think Lions could probably win the division with that if they haven't already.
Yeah. Especially if Vikings are gonna stay with Nick Mullins. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Texans have a true test with the Browns. CJ Stroud looking like he still might not be able to go.
That's
Yeah,
close
they're
for me right
at
now.
home, but I really want to pick the Texans, but Browns are just kind of rolling right now. They're just playing their own brand of football and might get just railed. There's a couple of other decent games. Cowboys Dolphins should be good. Both teams at 10-4.
I heard a stat that the Dolphins have not beaten any team over 500 record.
Really interesting. Okay.
And then there's some other stat that they said something about the Cowboys, I guess, haven't beaten anybody away. I guess, yeah, it's mostly that the Cowboys struggle more in away games, but then the Miami struggles with teams 500 or better. Something's got to give.
I need the Steelers to pull off a win against Cincy.
You're asking a lot, Mason
I
Rudolph.
know I'm asking a lot.
You need the
Be
Colts to
nice if the
lose.
Chargers could pull off a win against Buffalo.
You need
Be
the
nice if
Colts.
the Falcons could pull off a win
Oh,
against the
that ain't We
Colts.
already know that ain't happening.
Oh, be nice if the Texans could beat the Browns. Be nice if the Bucks could beat the Jags. I'd really appreciate that.
I,
Be
I,
nice if the Patriots could beat the Broncos.
I could see that. Yeah, I
I
mean,
It could happen.
it's
Got some interesting games here. This is going to be a challenging week to pick. Got a couple weeks left. Give me some quick thoughts on how the season has gone so far.
the main thing that stands out really to me is just the quarterback injuries and just
Been
how,
very huge. Yeah.
yeah, and how crucial that obviously that position is and how some teams value it more than others.
Yeah.
What about you?
Some have played better than others, some have not. I think there's a lot of teams that everybody thought weren't going to be very good have been decent, like it is every year in the NFL. And a lot of teams that people thought were going to be good have been not very good at all.